associated with how safe they feel. In this observational study, data was extracted from the Ghana Living Standards Survey and analyzed to determine the feelings of safety by a sexual assault victim and whether it is associated with their gender. From the results, we discovered that there is no association between gender of the victim and feelings of safety, although men felt slightly safer than women. From literature that I did, I found out that people who suffer from sexual assaults have post-traumatic effects like anxiety, aggression, trust issues, depression, etc. Therefore, we are also going to discuss why the data obtained from the GLSS and studies conducted about this particular topic may not have overlapped. The topic, as you all know, is the gender of the sexual assault victim and whether it determines how safe they feel afterwards. And I believe it was important to research this topic because it's important that as a society, we know the effects that the violation of a physical body has on the victim, both male and female, and whether we can determine and whether their gender is associated with that effect. This will help society to get rid of any stereotypes or stigmas surrounding sexual assault and the victim's gender, and also help us to empathize with their behavior post-trauma. Extensive research performed on the effects of sexual assault and gender has shown that women are usually the topic of concern when sexual assault is addressed. Although women are more sexually assaulted than men, men's sexual assault is extremely underreported due to emasculation and speculations that they are gay. The main research question was, does the gender of a sexual assault victim affect how safe they feel afterwards? And I chose 3 sub-areas under this topic to explore. First, the association between gender of victim and sexual assault, the association between gender of victim and how safe they feel in the neighborhood at night, and association between gender and how safe they feel home alone in the dark. The sample was produced from the GLSS during the 7th round of surveys from 15,000 households across 10 regions, with 1,000 enumeration areas, 56.1% rural and 43.9% urban. The interviewer interviewed up to 15 individuals per household, aged 18 years and above, with the head of the household chosen first and subsequently chosen individual 3, 5, 7, and so on. Gender was the explanatory variable with 2 categories. It was pitted against the response variable of feelings of safety in the neighborhood at night, at dark, with the answers being very safe, safe, moderately safe, unsafe, and very unsafe. The explanatory variable gender was also pitted against feelings of safety at home, with the responses being very safe, safe, moderately safe, unsafe, and very unsafe. A chi-square test of independence was tested against all 3 associations. The first association was gender and the occurrence of sexual assault, with its own null hypothesis saying that there is no correlation between gender and the occurrence of sexual assault. The next association was between gender and feelings of safety in the neighborhood at night, with the null hypothesis saying there was no correlation between these 2 variables, and the alternative hypothesis accepting that there's a correlation. Finally, the test was done between the gender of the individual and the feelings of safety home alone after dark, with the null hypothesis saying that there is no association between gender and feelings of safety alone after dark, and the alternative hypothesis saying there is a correlation between feelings of safety at home alone after dark and gender. The results for the first association resulted in a test statistic of 0.12 and a p-value test of 0.72, made up of 973 people. And the most popular response was very safe, which was given by more men than women. Because the p-value is above 0.05, we are accepting the null hypothesis that there is no correlation between the gender of a victim and the occurrence of sexual assaults. Second, the proportion of community safety by gender was measured. After 973 victims, more men than women said they felt very safe as well. the test statistic was 0.42, the p-value test was 0.12. Therefore, we are accepting the null hypothesis that there is no correlation between the gender of the victim and feelings of safety in the community after dark. Finally, the proportion of home safety by gender was explored. Out of 973 sexual victims, more men than women said they felt very safe. The test statistic was 5.55 and the p-value test was 0.23. Therefore, we are again accepting the null hypothesis that there is no correlation between the gender of a victim and feelings of safety home alone after dark. I discovered that the feelings of safety of sexual victims is not associated with gender, although male victims felt slightly more safe than women in the dark at home and in the community in the dark. But literature has shown that both men and women suffer from PTSD after being sexually assaulted, and that men and women have different ways of reacting. Some women tended to blame themselves, while other men tended to have a harder time than women in terms of coping, because men were felt to be emasculated if they were to say that they had been sexually assaulted, or they feared that they would be called gay. So they most oftentimes kept this to themselves, which made the coping much worse. Although the results were not statistically significant, extensive research shows that there is an association between the gender of a victim and how safe they feel after the assault or the mental health issues they suffer. The study was, however, conducted more in the rural areas of Ghana. So I feel like if more urban areas were introduced, that could have affected the results that we got from the test. These are my references for my literature research. Thank you so much for your time.